Welcome to the Higher Ed Athletics Podcast. Today I'm joined by Dr. Keith Carver, Chancellor at University of Tennessee, Martin. Dr. Carver, Chancellor Carver, thanks for joining me on the Higher Ed Athletics Podcast.
Travis, thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation. Always love to talk about intercollegiate athletics.
Yeah, we found out there's some similarities between our schools with Parker Stewart and then your son training. You can kind of tell that story a little bit if you want about your son.
Yeah, absolutely. My son is of course, we're situated in Northwest Tennessee, and a town very close to Martin is Jackson, Tennessee. And my son's a kicker, and he trained with another high school kicker here locally named Charles Campbell, who's now a place kicker and kickoff specialist for the Hoosiers and is doing real well. And so I'm seeing a lot more IU apparel around town these days, but we're all real proud of Charles, but also proud of Parker Stewart, who's a guard with the Hoosiers, transferred from UT Martin there, and extremely bright kid, already has a couple degrees, but just a real leader on and off the court. And we really look forward to watching him play for the Hoosiers this fall. So, you've got a lot of eyes from Martin turned north looking at you guys right now. It's exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And we need more IU stuff in Tennessee, and then we need a rematch at the Gator Bowl.
Absolutely.
And so we were talking, that was a great game, just and the bad guys won, unfortunately. But it's awesome seeing on Twitter, like you're really active on Twitter and very, with your experience, as we'll get to with the UT system, probably great to see your son get to play, get to kick for UT. And so I'm sure you're going to be really proud with that. And just very active on Twitter. So that's where we kind of connected. And I appreciate you taking the time. And so I'll get right into it. You know, for those that are not familiar with UT Martin, I will mention some notable alumni that the listeners might know: Pat Summitt, and also Florida State men's basketball head coach Leonard Hamilton, both UT Martin alums. But I'm curious if maybe you can profile the institution a bit, the size, the setting, athletic conference, and then maybe I'm really interested about the story of how it's changed over the years from its founding. If you can maybe just profile UT Martin a bit.
Absolutely. So University of Tennessee at Martin, we've been an institution here in Weakley County, Tennessee since 1900, founded as a small private Baptist teaching school. In 1927, became part of the University of Tennessee system, and we've been there ever since. We are the comprehensive undergraduate master's level teaching institution for the University of Tennessee system. We focus primarily on instruction. We do a lot of great research, public service here, but primarily our faculty are here because they want to teach undergraduates. And so all our programs are undergraduate programs. We've got a handful of masters, but no PhD level. Obviously, well steeped in agricultural tradition here, and I have about 1,300 of our 7,100 students are ag majors here, and that goes from plant and soil science to traditional things you might think of on a farm, but also looking at nutrition, food safety, food science, all of that. So it's a great place. We are one of 5 campuses in the University of Tennessee system, and we're a proud member of the UT system and collaborate in a lot of research and graduate programs with our brothers and sisters across the state. We are the rural campus, and we really embrace that, and we think we play a real part in rural urban development and revitalization, and we're happy to do that. So when we started playing sports in the 1920s, 1930s, we were really attached to UT Knoxville, which was the Volunteers. And so there was a period of time, Travis, that our football players were known as the baby balls or the junior balls. If you can imagine a college mascot being that. Transition, though, pretty quickly as we got into the 1960s and 70s into the Pacers. And at the time, we had an athletic director who was from surprise, surprise, Indianapolis. And Pacers was a near and dear term to his heart. We also had a budding real equine presence here on campus. We have an equestrian program now, one of the few Division I programs in the country here at UT Martin. So Pacers fit. But in 1994, we were in the Gulf South. We were looking to get into a better position with our athletic program altogether. And so petitioned to get in the Ohio Valley Conference, where we currently are, held a student-wide, campus-wide contest on renaming, because really the Pacers were hard to market. What is a Pacer? That sort of thing. Then right up 45 minutes north of us, you had the Murray State Racers. So we thought we need to do a little something different, and we chose the Skyhawks. And two reasons. One, a lot of hawks in this region, Travis. The red-tailed hawk, there are just a ton of red-tailed hawks in this area, and they're a beautiful, beautiful bird. But back in World War I and World War II, on this very soil, fighter pilots were trained for the war effort. And so during that era, those pilot trainees were known as sky pilots. And so we took the sky pilots, which is a real tip of the hat to the armed forces and our military background, and the red-tailed hawk, and we came up with the Skyhawks, and it stuck. And our students really seemed to like it. It's a nice historical tie to who we were at our founding, and it's a little unique, although you see a lot of Skyhawks out there now, starting to see more at the high school level, but we've been that way since the mid-90s.
Yeah, I thought it was such a unique blend of sky pilots and then the actual hawk. And I kind of, I had my assumptions that it had something to do with the Pacers being here in Indiana. And you're right, the Racers are really close. So it's a very cool nickname. I feel like this season, which I'm not really dropping any clues of who I'm interviewing this whole season, all summer, but I've had a lot of cool nicknames. So Skyhawks is definitely up there. How has the whole entire institution really embraced that name as more of a campus identity, though, as opposed to just athletics? Because, some schools where you're also a branch or a regional campus, I don't know that the nickname really is ingrained in the identity as much as maybe thinking more broadly in the system. But looking on your website and just your Twitter activity, it seems like Skyhawks is really just kind of institution-wide.
It really has. And our academic units use it. Our orientation program is called Summer Orientation and Registration, SOAR, so it's SOAR. We use our scholarship program is called Aviator. So when students go for financial aid, and our nickname, our Skyhawk nickname, is the mascot is Captain. So we have Aviator. So all over campus, we use reference to flying, soaring, pilot, aviation, and it's just become a big part of our brand. And the community, the city of Martin is wonderful, about 10,000 people, and we've got 7,100 students in terms of total head count. So the university is not much smaller than the town, and the town has really embraced us. The mayor and the aldermen are great partners, and so you see Skyhawk emblems all over town, which is really nice with the town gown relationship. So Skyhawk heads on the streets that are painted every year. It's really exciting. Lots of good banners around town, and so I think the community has really embraced it. And a lot of it's because we went with some regional history behind the nickname. But we love being the Skyhawks, and there's a lot of good themes you can do around flying and soaring when it deals with students.
Definitely creative. Kind of talking about the community, leaving it there. I'm curious, when you talk about athletics at UT Martin, do you describe it to folks as the front porch? Because we seem to throw that phrase around every college, but I'm not entirely sure it is at each place, because you might have a different institution mission, especially with you all being so ag heavy and community heavy, that maybe it's not necessarily the role that you want your athletics to play, instead of maybe just part of the entire institution.
Sure. I think it does. I truly believe that one of the best ways to bring positive attention to your university is through your athletic programs, because at those events, you've got grandmothers, grandfathers, neighbors, business owners, people that never otherwise might not visit your campus that visit just because of an athletic event. But I never talk about it really as a front porch, because I really think it's a living room. Because these are, UT Martin this fall, we're going to go over 500 student athletes, which is a record here. We've not had that many, but 500 student athletes. But those student athletes are also, taking 12, 15, 18 hours. They're filling our classes. So athletics does bring a lot of people, but I think they're in the tent. And so I think it's the living room where, you're entertaining, where you're learning, where you're watching, observing, speaking, talking. And I think that happens a lot of times in the house, in the living room. So I think athletics really is that warm, inviting place where the community and the faculty, staff, and students all sort of meet and interact with each other. But it's a big part of our institution, and a big part of our alumni engagement opportunities come from that. So athletics is critically important for our institution.
Well, I'm curious. So I'm thinking about Coastal Carolina. I've gotten to know the president pretty well there, and had the athletic director on, and as well. So they've both been on the podcast, and they're about to welcome their biggest undergraduate class ever, and coming out of pandemic. Here in the Midwest, where everyone knows there's going to be an enrollment cliff, and I'm not sure if it's going to make it as down south to Tennessee, but just thinking of future direction and growth of your institution, what role does athletics continue to play in the years ahead for that?
I think it plays a huge role. We've added a new sport this fall, a sport called stunt, and I like to think of myself as really aware of what's going on and new trends. But when we started talking about stunt on campus, I really need to go get some research on that. And obviously, it's a branch or affiliated with sport cheerleading, and it's a lot of gymnastics, acrobatics. It's for competitive dance, and it's fun, but it's a real emerging area where we've got room. We can support them, but it's another opportunity for students to engage with us. So I would say we are in a growth mode. Where I think we're looking, Travis, over the next few years is how can we enhance the student athlete experience, but also in a way that benefits all of our student body. So I think over the next few years, you're going to see us talk about things like indoor practice facilities. And not only will our athletes be able to utilize that, but also our students will be able to do intramurals, informal recreation in that facility as well. So things that we can do to enhance the physical needs of our students on campus, but that also will give us a recruiting advantage for our athletic programs, but things that will benefit campus as a whole, although certainly it'll have a real athletic emphasis. This year, we did 2 improvements to our football stadium. We're getting a new Jumbotron. By the first game, we'll have this huge, beautiful, high-def 85K. No, I don't know what it is, but real high-definition screen for our fan experience. But our student athletes are excited about it because they're going to show the replays on this huge screen. And so their brand gets enhanced. And then we've just done a nice enhancement to our visitor stands in football. Now our men's basketball program needs some work in the locker room. So there's some smaller projects we're doing, but also some on the horizon that are larger, but all about enhancing the student experience here.
Well, it sounds like it's a common theme of what people can do at institutions your size based on athletic directors and presidents I've spoken to. So look forward to seeing the growth at UT at Martin. And I want to kind of go to the system level now. Yeah. You've been working with the UT system for over 20 years. We shared this before hitting record, but I'm passionate about the IU system, and I have and will continue being both a student and an employee, devoting my time and energy to the IU system, both IUPUI and IU Bloomington. We have several other campuses. For my doc program, I've developed an interest in studying university systems, and I think they have a lot to offer higher ed, especially, kind of relying on those resources and everything like that. But I think as far as athletic departments, we're a little behind about how we can be creative with system campuses, because the CEO, like yourself, you're in charge of athletics at UT at Martin, and that's just how the NCAA has it, where one person, whether it's a chancellor, oversees it. Do you think with all the changes coming to college athletics, which I know you're knowledgeable about that, that there might be a bigger role to be played for individual system institutions and their athletic departments to work together within the system?
I do. And I think the landscape of the NCAA is really necessitating that. Things are changing so much. Here and you've got Indiana's system is a great system, and you've got a broad range, a diverse group of institutions there, and we do as well at Tennessee. But I think when you talk about governance, one of the great things we have here is we have one board of trustees for the entire UT system, and each year, each of our athletic directors have an opportunity to present and get Q&A as a group. They go up and present individually, but as a group have an opportunity to be given questions and give an update and share a vision. And so I think activities like that really celebrate, hey, we are all athletic departments within one large system. And Martin, your compliance and your growth and your success is really important, just like Chattanooga's, just like Knoxville. Now, Knoxville's much bigger budget, Power 5, that sort of thing. But the fact that we're given the same seat at the table at a board meeting to talk and present our plans is really important. I think another thing that's wonderful is just the relationships between chancellors and athletic directors at system schools. And so, we're playing the Vols in football next year. This fall, we're going up to Knoxville, and we will play Rick Barnes' basketball team. We're their first opponent. And that's good for us from a revenue standpoint, but also good for our athletes to be able to go and do that. And the administrations at all the schools know each other. I know the chancellor at UT Knoxville, we're going to do something fun the night before the game. We're even going to do, I think, a free throw shooting contest at halftime of the game, just for a little fun between the schools. We just worked with UTC and developed a 4-game extension in football that we're going to play with them, and we're going to play them in sand volleyball. So I think because these systems are so small and so intimate, that you can do a lot of intersectional, interstate rivalry games with each other, and it really benefits your fan base. But I also know our ADs talk within the state. They're always trying to find out how can purchasing better work for us. We're all on the same purchasing contracts. How can we work better? Construction management. We're putting in this new video board. Well, what were the steps? How did they get it done in Knoxville? And is there a open bid process from the Knoxville contract that we could piggyback on and more efficiently get the product in a way that saves the state some money? So I think being in a system really helps each other. But I think you have to want to work together. And fortunately, right now, we've got a bunch of ADs, a bunch of chancellors that like each other and generally want to work with each other. And there's some comfort there.
Yeah, Danny White is, about as innovative as it gets. And so him being able to also be a resource to other athletic directors and what a lot of people, he's been a little busy, but he is a person I really want to get on the podcast, maybe on season 4. But a lot of people don't realize he has a doctoral degree in education too. I mean, he is committed to higher education, and I'm sure that's another added bonus for the chancellor to have him on there. But I don't know who's going to win that free throw battle though.
It's going to be tough.
You were chancellor.
Well, Chancellor Plowman, she's scrappy. So while I think I may have played a little more basketball than Dondi Plowman, she is tough and competitive enough that she will probably give 20 hours a week to her form and shooting beforehand. So I'm not counting her. I'm not gonna sleep on her. I'm gonna have to bring my A game.
Well, you all, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like when your son's kicking against you all in football. You're going to be a mess probably every time that he goes to kick, but that'll test your kind of your duties as a father and a chancellor between the schools. So what's that going to be like?
Well, it'll be tough. Now, I'm a Skyhawks guy. I love the Skyhawks. I love interacting. Matter of fact, I saw one of our starting defensive backs as I was running back to my office from lunch and got to talk to him about the scrimmage this week. But I love getting to know the students. And so I sometimes feel like these are my children here on this campus. I get to know them so well. And I want them to succeed, not just on the field, but in life. And so you get so much invested with them, you want them. So I want to beat UT. I want to beat UT when we go up there and shock the world. But as a dad, I'm an alum. I've got 2 degrees from Knoxville. My wife's UT Knoxville alum. We love that campus. Worked there for a long time. We want our son to do well. We want his program to do well and our alma mater to do well. But Travis, to answer the question, I hope the Skyhawks win, but I do not want UT to lose on a missed field goal. How about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, or if it does come down to a heartbreaker where you do actually lose, you hope it's on a field goal from your son. So
that's exactly
I will be watching that one like a Skyhawk in 2 years. So that'll be cool.
I appreciate it. It'll be fun.
Well, so we kind of talked about this, but just to expand on. So say there's an NCAA vote or an institutional input on a governance issue. What part do all the chancellors, you talked about the chancellors come together. What part does President Boyd come in and have to make like we're doing a UT system wide for Knoxville, Martin, and Chattanooga. And, whether it's an NIL policy or, it's something about how the NCAA is looking to change governance, whenever you are all asked to put your input in, what role does he have in that as the president of the entire system? Or is it really just all the chancellors get together and you represent your own institution for that decision?
No, it's a great topic to talk about. We're all so different. Now, Chattanooga and Martin are fairly similar. We're in the Ohio Valley Conference. UT Chattanooga is in the Southern Conference, another great conference. Obviously, UTK is Power 5. They're the rapidly expanding Southeastern Conference. And so things are a little different. But in terms of Randy's role, we have one chair for the Board of Trustees for the entire system. That's Mr. John Compton right now. But the other day, we got our papers, our renewal papers for the Ohio Valley Conference. I sign off on those, but it's also signed off on by our board chair. So the board, in fact, is involved with our conference alignment, and we keep them apprised of how things are going. There a lot of our board members are alums. All of them are sports fans. But all of them are interested in student success. And so at every board meeting, there are questions about graduation rates, retention rates of our athletes. Obviously, success on the field, but off the field in the classroom is really important. But in terms of at a granular level, the president wants to be informed, but he's not involved in the day-to-day conversations we have. He knows all our commissioners. And at the end of the day, we are held accountable for doing our jobs by the president. But really, on the day-to-day basis, it's keeping him informed and making sure we're doing the right things to stay compliant to the NCAA.
So he just gets to sit back and wear whatever school colors he wants that day. I've seen
he enjoys
a lot. You all just are so. I don't think I follow the Chattanooga Chancellor, but I follow you and Chancellor Plowman and President Boyd. You all just interact so much on Twitter. You can tell that it's just a friendly bond there with your institutions.
Well, it's great, and it's a fairly small state. We're short and skinny when you look at the state, and so. But we're active all over the state, and Randy Boyd's great about pulling us all together. We meet once a month as a group, and so you do develop some really good friendships. And so, but yeah, Nandi, Chancellor Plowman, and I, and President Boyd, we like to pick at each other a little bit, and it's fun. Our students enjoy it. We do it in a good-natured way, and it makes work much more enjoyable when you love your colleagues.
Well, I like the logo, the UT system logo too, like how it's got the state ingrained from the U and the T, and I like branding, so it's a cool look for you all too, and really kind of unifies the state system, I think.
No, it really does.
Well, so I want to, my main audience of listeners are definitely, I'd love to get more academics to listen, and it's definitely a goal of mine, but a lot of them are senior level athletic administrators with aspirations of, they want to be the Kurt McGuffin, the Danny Whites, and they want to be an AD. So I'd like to ask you some questions specifically for them.
You bet.
What is your leadership philosophy like in both overseeing athletics and how you work with your vice chancellor and director of athletics day to day, which is Kurt McGuffin?
Sure. And, this is my first chancellorship. I'm about to wrap up year 5. So I'm still learning. Every day I learn something. But my philosophy is to be effective in these roles, Travis, you have to build great teams. And what I think you do is in looking to build a team, is you hire the smartest person that you can for that role, and you get out of their way and you allow them to do their job, and you equip them to be successful in what they're doing. And so if you have a cabinet, and that goes from all the way from the provost to our vice chancellor of student affairs, our vice chancellor and director of intercollegiate athletics, is you get in these people who are great leaders and content experts. You communicate often, and Kurt and I talk at least once a day about something, but we sit down every other week for at least an hour in my office, have coffee and talk through things. But really, your job is to sell the vision. You set the vision, and you're the culture champion. And then you have these great folks that are working with you who are content experts in their area, and you let them do their job. And I know that every day Kurt is working hard to uphold our campus's strategic plan and the role athletic plays in it. That's focusing on graduation rates. We want to be certainly competitive on the field. We want to provide a great fan experience and student experience for our student athletes. So we have success metrics that we look at, monthly on how things are going, but truly hire good people and help them out, support them, give them the help they need to remove their any barriers or obstacles, and then let them go. And that's what we do. I do not get Kurt in here on a Monday and rehash the football game and what I thought the coach should have done on 3rd and 4 there in the 4th quarter. That's not my job. Now, we do talk about the fan experience. We do talk about students. We do talk about wellness. But Kurt is focused on a lot of those wins and losses and the overall health of the program. My job is to hold them accountable, make sure we're doing the right things, but to advocate on behalf of our athletic program, encouraging people to buy season tickets, inviting people to go with me to the Thursday night scrimmage, and really being a tireless advocate for our athletic programs. At the end of the day, I am accountable for things that happen, and I do set some expectations, but I'd really try to support and advocate. And, I have this, I guess, bullhorn from the Chancellor's office, and it's a great opportunity for me to promote the great things that are going on in athletics, and that's part of my job.
Well, if Kurt listens to this, he might recognize my name. He offered me a job at Missouri Western.
How about that?
Months before he had left for UT at Martin, and I turned it down because my wife was like 8 months pregnant and was not ready to move away from Indiana.
I got you. Well, he missed out.
Yeah, but he left. And so he left like 2 or 3 months after that. So hopefully he was okay with that decision. And but he might listen to this. And so if he remembers, I would like to say I apologize, but I'm glad that he wound up at UT at Martin, and seems like he's doing a great job.
He's great. He is, and I tell you, he's extremely ethical and honest and competitive. And I think you've got to have that competitive edge. We want to beat Murray State and Belmont and Austin Peay and Tennessee Tech every year. We want to do that. I want to beat Eastern Illinois every year. And so having an athletic director has all those things, you just develop a high level of trust. And I really trust Kurt McGuffin, and I think he trusts me as well.
Yeah. And, I'm sure he does a great job of this, but what are some potential ways someone that wants to become an athletic director can actually understand? What can they do to better understand how an institution operates and how, administration and how higher education works?
I think one of the best ways to do is to do your assigned job very well. And so whatever you're doing right now, make sure that you're the best at it and you're doing a great job in that role. And I think then beyond that, I think whether it's through the annual evaluation process, whether it's a car ride with your supervisor or your AD or your associate AD, whoever you're working with, let them know, what, I'm really interested in enrollment management, or I'm interested in fundraising, and are there opportunities for me to serve as a member of a task force and help with something on the broader educational scale at the university, because I want to learn more. I'd love to be an AD. I'd love to be a chief compliance officers. What are some areas that I could lend some time and help where I could really learn from? And I think most athletic directors, most chancellors always appreciate having new people to come do some committee work. And that's what I did when I was in graduate school. I was in graduate school at Knoxville studying college student personnel. And I did a non-paid internship over in football. And I loved football, thought, would I want to go that route and be in athletic administration, but got in there and ended up doing work in the recruiting office. And back then, Travis, they had these things called VCRs with VCR tapes. And so I would spend a couple hours a day sort of coding those, getting them ready for clips so coaches could come in, get them and do that. But from that, I learned a lot about athletics. And I knew I didn't want to do that as a career, but I think it did help me in how do coaches talk to each other? What do student athletes mean? What are the parents concerned about? So I was on the broader university track, but wanted some athletic experience, and doing that non-paid internship served me well. I met a guy there named Philip Fulmer, who happened to be head coach at the time, and he sort of took me under my wing, and we're still friends to this day. And he tells everybody that he's the reason I'm a chancellor, and he's probably right. But he did a great job. But he was a master at mentoring people and bringing out the best in people, and he still does that, and I appreciate that. But yeah, telling them to just volunteer to do different things. Second thing is, and this is inexpensive, is to subscribe to a great journal, whether it's a daily Inside Higher Ed on Twitter or the Chronicle of Higher Education, and just follow it and read the headlines and read the first 2 paragraphs of everything they tweet out or everything that you can get on their online editions. You'll learn so much about higher ed from a financial standpoint and where athletics fits in the bigger financial picture by doing that. But the writing for both those are incredible. And I would tell anyone who's interested in learning more that's a good way to spend 10 minutes of your day.
Yeah, and I'm a big advocate of being a doc student in a higher ed program. I definitely, read Chronicle of Higher Ed and Inside Higher Ed. And for those listening that aren't aware of what they are, it's not as fine-tuned and simplistic as D1 Ticker is probably. Mm-hmm. But everyone listening, you might be a subscriber too. D1 Ticker, I know those guys, they do a great job. It's kind of like that version where if you sign up for some of the several newsletters that the Chronicle or Inside Higher Ed has, but just going to their website too and subscribing, it's very similar type of information that you're going to get. So I'll, for those that haven't heard of those 2 items, I would definitely do it. And also take advantage of your school resources. I think just being an employee at IU, we get access to the Chronicle of Higher Education as a member. And so people need to maybe take advantage of what their institution can get them as well. Absolutely. Are you a D1 Ticker subscriber?
I am. As a matter of fact, I typically don't have time during the day to check it out, but I do look at it, especially at nights. I'm trying to wind down. I see former colleagues. It's fun for me to see men and women that I've met here in my 5 years that have moved on, see them get that head coaching job or move into athletic administration. It's a lot of fun. So it's been really good to keep up with that.
You got to get that evening standard at the end of your day.
That's exactly right.
For those unaware of someone like yourself's role in college athletics at the conference level, there in the Ohio Valley, what is it like? What do you explain your role, you all's role is in governing at the conference level?
It's great. In the Ohio Valley Conference, first of all, they're all very similar schools in terms of mission and size, and so that's fun. So right off the bat, we have a lot in common, which really helps us. But we hire the commissioner. It's a president-led conference. That's not the case in all conferences, but it is president-led. So we evaluate and hire the commissioner. We meet about monthly and sometimes every other week. And during COVID, we've gotten together to talk about a lot of different things. And so the athletic directors are very involved, obviously, in conference interchanges and about scheduling and policy. But I think the presidents are at a more macro level are just as involved. And our athletics directors are talking to us. They'll vote on things. They'll let us know what they're thinking. And then we get together as presidents and talk it out with the commissioner. So I've only been a chancellor for 5 years, and OVC is the only conference I've had any experience working in, but it's been very satisfying. And the way the presidents vote is the way it goes, and so that's been a lot of fun. But it really makes you dial in and really study things like name, image, and likeness, on COVID protocols, on conference revenue opportunities, or ESPN Plus contracts. And so that's been a lot of fun for me because I didn't know a lot about that sort of thing, athletics and the auxiliaries and revenue sources. So it's been really good.
Well, as we start to wrap up, one question I've asked a couple of times because I have my opinion on it, but if it weren't for college athletics and the NCAA and the conference affiliations, do you think college presidents and chancellors would speak as often as they do? Because I imagine the conversations there start with athletics, but probably improve the working relationships for other things to do in higher ed too, because it's a pretty competitive industry of higher education. And I'm just not sure how often you all would talk outside the system if you didn't have these affiliations.
You're exactly right. The athletic conferences do bring us together. And so, I'll just toss this out here. Just one quick example. I would not know Bob Jackson at Murray State as well if we were not in the same athletic conference. But because we're on these conference calls and Zooms, because I see him at our events, I come to his and he hosts, we talk about a lot of things other than just athletics. He and I share COVID policies. We share legislative strategies. We'll talk about, hey, during COVID, how many students are you putting in your residence hall? I mean, we talk about all this operational things because as leaders of institutions, there are very few people you can just sort of talk to who know about the seat that you're sitting in. And so having those friends like Bob Jackson, like Phil Oldham at Tennessee Tech, Mike Licari at Austin Peay State University, just countless others that you can call and just bounce things off of. And athletics is the convener for those. We would not get together, but maybe once a year otherwise. And instead, we're talking every 2 weeks. And so it lends itself to these informal networks of things outside of athletics too. So that athletics is a great convener for that.
Well, my last question is really just what current events or changes coming to higher education, not necessarily athletics, but higher ed, should future athletic directors maybe be aware of that maybe is on your, we talked about the enrollment decline crisis, but, what's maybe a concern that presidents and chancellors have that everyone on an institution, but maybe also future athletic directors should understand about higher ed?
I think anything they can read or soak up about retention, because with enrollment numbers, the pool of prospective students going down, how do you hold on and retain the ones you have? And so student success and retention and graduation are going to be critically important in the next coming years. And this is going to be a surprise to no one. This is no spoiler alert, but I think the biggest thing right now are just the mental health issues and how the pressures on any college students, but especially those who are uber competitive and trying not just to win and play well and win a game or win a conference championship for the team, but also competing head to head with another Skyhawk or another Hoosier, and the pressures they're under in and out of the classroom. And so I think all of us are concerned in trying to do things to help our students, all of our students, feel like these are welcoming places that are healthy for them physically, professionally, spiritually, emotionally. And that's especially true in athletics. There's a lot we place on these student athletes, and making sure they're feeling good and have the resources they need is critically important.
Yeah, those are two things that can be institution wide, because obviously athletics is dealing with that with mental health, but also the transfer portal and one-time transfer for everyone. Retention is going to be huge, because you could have an upset student athlete have a bad practice and say, I'm going to go into the portal, and they can go into the portal and they can come out, but it's a risk. So those are two comparables.
You're right.
I think.
You're right. Absolutely.
Well, Chancellor Carver, University of Tennessee at Martin, really just thank you so much for being on the Higher Ed Athletics podcast. I think a lot of our athletic-minded people will learn a lot from the higher ed perspective, so I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, Travis. Thanks for reaching out. This has been a lot of fun, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about Skyhawks a little bit. And listen, best wishes to you as you continue on with your PhD journey. That's awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you all. I'll be studying your system some more, I'm sure.
Please do. Come visit us.